Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start today with a scenario that I think every single person listening is going to recognize. You're walking through a bookstore, or maybe you're just scrolling through your favorite news feed and you see these titles all the time: Why You Think Wrong, The Art of Thinking Clearly, Predictably Irrational.
Oh, they're everywhere.
They are. And the underlying message of all of this, the subtext that is just screaming at you from the cover, is basically, hey, your brain is broken.
It is the pervasive anxiety of the modern age, isn't it? This feeling that you are running on outdated hardware, that you're glitchy,
Totally glitchy.
that if you could just download some sort of patch, you'd finally stop making mistakes.
Exactly. It's this obsession with fixing our brains. We're constantly told that we have these cognitive biases.
Right.
We have confirmation bias, we have sunk cost fallacy, we have anchoring. And the narrative is always that these are bugs. They're errors in our code.
Yeah.
And if we were just smarter or more disciplined or more rational, we'd purge these bugs and operate like perfect decision-making machines.
That is the prevailing narrative of the last 30 years, without question. If you look at behavioral economics, psychology, the whole pop science explosion led by figures like Daniel Kahneman, who is brilliant, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
The view is very clear. The human psyche is viewed as a defective machine. We are biological computers that keep crashing, and the goal of education or self-improvement is to, debug the software.
Debug the brain. I feel like I've seen that headline 1,000 times. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if that entire premise is wrong? What if calling them bugs is actually a huge misunderstanding of what it means to be human?
That is the pivot point for today. We're doing a deep dive into the philosophy of Mookie Tenenbaum.
Mookie Tenenbaum?
And Tenenbaum has a take on this that is, well, it's quite radical.
Yeah.
He argues that this view that we're broken machines needing a fix is not just incorrect, but it's actually a form of intellectual arrogance.
Arrogance. I love that. He's not pulling any punches.
Not at all. Tenenbaum suggests that we're fundamentally misunderstanding the difference between two concepts that we treat as synonyms, but really aren't.
Okay.
We're confusing being rational with being reasonable.
Okay, let's pause there. Because in casual conversation, if I say to my friend, be rational or be reasonable, I usually mean the same thing. I mean, stop acting crazy.
We all do.
But Tenenbaum says these are two totally different worlds.
Ontologically different worlds. He says they're completely different categories of existence. And the mission for this deep dive isn't to say that science is wrong or that biases don't exist.
Right, we're not debunking anything.
No, it's to reframe them through Tenenbaum's lens. We're going to explore his argument that your so-called mistakes might actually be incredibly sophisticated survival mechanisms.
I like the sound of that. I'd much rather be a sophisticated survivalist than a buggy computer.
Precisely. We are going to dissect Tenenbaum's concepts of rational tyranny versus reasonable wisdom. And by the end of this, you might look at your own irrational decisions in a completely different light.
Let's dive into the diagnosis then. Segment 1, are we broken software? Because Tenenbaum seems to really take issue with how modern analysts look at the human mind.
He really does. Tenenbaum observes that contemporary analysis treats the human mind like code that keeps crashing. It's a very technical view.
Technical how?
Well, if you're an economist and a human buys a stock when they should sell or holds on to a bad investment because they don't want to admit a loss, what does the economist say?
They say error, irrational behavior.
Exactly, error. It's a deviation from the algorithm, a glitch in the system. The human is a bad economic agent.
And we love that computer metaphor, don't we? It's everywhere. I need to process this. I don't have the bandwidth. I need to recharge. We talk about ourselves like we're laptops.
We do. And Tenenbaum points out that this is seductive because it's simple. It's technically simple to say human A made error B because of bias C. It makes the world look solvable.
Right. If we're just broken software, we just need the right patch. We just need to be taught how to think correctly. A simple software update.
But Tenenbaum calls this intellectual arrogance. Why is it arrogant to want to fix errors?
Yeah, that seems like a good thing, right? Wanting to be better.
Because it assumes that the standard for correctness is a machine. It assumes that the rational way is the only way, and anything else is a failure.
I see.
Tenenbaum notes that while this premise is easy to grasp, it fails to understand nature. It completely fails to understand what a human actually is.
It's like judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree and then saying the fish has a climbing error.
That is a very, very close analogy, an excellent one. The fish isn't failing at being a monkey. It's succeeding at being a fish.
And we're succeeding at being human, even when we look buggy.
That's his core point. Tenenbaum argues that the root of this whole confusion is conflating rationality with reasonableness. We think that to be reasonable, we must be rational. But Tenenbaum insists that rationality is something very specific and, frankly, very inhuman.
So let's define the terms. How does Tenenbaum define the rational? Because usually we think of rational as just making sense or using facts.
Tenenbaum goes much deeper. He defines the rational as belonging to the realm of Platonic ideals.
Platonic ideals. Okay, we're getting philosophical here. So the perfect, abstract version of something.
Exactly. Think of geometry. A perfect circle doesn't exist in the real world. You can't draw one. It's an idea. A mathematical point has no dimension.
It's a concept.
It's a concept. And rationality is like that. It is, in Tenenbaum's words, mathematical asepsis.
Asexis, like sterile, clean, like an operating room.
Exactly. Sterile. Rationality is perfect linear logic operating in a vacuum. It's a sterile operating room where 1 + 1 always equals 2, and emotions do not enter the equation. It's a place where context only matters if it can be quantified.
So who or what actually lives in this world? Because humans definitely don't. We are messy. We are full of bacteria, literally and metaphorically.
According to Tenenbaum, the avatar, the epitome of the rational, is artificial intelligence, the AI.
Okay, that makes sense. An AI is pure calculation. It lives in the server, not in the mud.
Think about how an AI thinks. It calculates probabilities without flinching. It processes massive amounts of data without prejudice. It reaches a conclusion that is statistically optimal.
Right.
If you ask an AI to solve a variation of the trolley problem, do you kill one person to save 5? It's just doing math.
It's just an equation.
Checking the variables and outputting the result. 5 is greater than 1. Execute. There's no hand-wringing, no sleepless nights.
It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't sweat. It doesn't worry about what the neighbors will think or what the families of the victims will feel.
And that is the crucial missing ingredient. This is the core of Tenenbaum's argument regarding the rational Han, he asks. Why is the AI so perfectly rational?
Because it's coded that way. Because it has a faster processor.
Tenenbaum says, no. That's a symptom, not the cause. It is perfectly rational because the AI does not suffer.
Wow. That stops you in your tracks a bit. Because the AI does not suffer.
It's the fundamental difference. The machine is indifferent to the result of the calculation. Tenenbaum lists these attributes. It feels no pain. It does not fear death.
It can't die. It can be turned off, but it doesn't fear that.
It has no offspring to protect. It has no status to lose within a tribe. It is pure logic, but it is logic devoid of flesh.
Devoid of flesh, that's a haunting image. But it's true. If I'm making a decision, I'm worried about looking stupid or losing money or hurting someone's feelings or literally getting punched in the face.
Right.
The AI is just moving data from column A to column B. It has no stake.
Exactly. And because it has no skin in the game, literally and metaphorically, it can afford to be perfectly rational. Rationality in this sense is a luxury of the non-living. You can afford to be purely logical when the outcome cannot hurt you.
So moving to segment 3 then. If the AI is the rational, what is the human? If we aren't designed to be that sterile calculator, what are we designed for? Tenenbaum says we are designed to be reasonable.
Yes, and this is where we have to flip our understanding completely. We aren't failing at being rational AI. We are succeeding at being reasonable humans.
I like that. We're not failed robots, we're successful animals.
A great way to put it. Tenenbaum contrasts the AI with the human design. Humans are not designed for mathematical asepsis. We are designed for survival.
So what defines the reasonable? What's the core of it?
The ontology of suffering.
The ontology, so the fundamental nature of suffering.
The very existence of pain. A human, by Tenenbaum's definition, is a vulnerable biological entity. Our primary imperative isn't truth or logic or efficiency. It is survival and the avoidance of pain.
This changes everything about how we look at our decisions. If my goal is don't get hurt, then my brain is doing a great job, even if I'm not being logical by some external standard.
Precisely. This is the aha moment Tenenbaum offers. He takes those cognitive biases that academia complains about, those bugs, and he flips the script.
Okay.
He says these aren't errors, they are evolutionary tools for pain management.
Whoa, okay, say that again. Evolutionary tools for pain management.
Think about it. Academia calls them errors because they deviate from the math.
They don't fit the spreadsheet.
They don't fit the spreadsheet. Tenenbaum calls them tools because they protect the organism. You aren't failing at math. You are succeeding at not getting hurt.
This feels like we need a specific example to really ground it. Let's go to segment 4 and talk about the big one. Confirmation bias. This is the one everyone loves to hate.
It is the classic. Confirmation bias is the tendency to ignore information that contradicts what we already believe and only pay attention to information that supports us.
Right. If I believe my political party is the best, I watch the news channel that agrees with me and I turn off the one that criticizes me. Or if I think I'm a good driver, I ignore the fact that I got honked at 3 times and focus on the one time someone let me merge.
Exactly. Now, the rational view, the Kahneman view, the view of the scientist, says you are bad at processing data.
I'm a bad computer.
You are filtering incorrectly. You are making a calculation error. Look at this data point you missed. Your algorithm is flawed.
Right. You are being stupid. You are being blind.
But what does Tenenbaum say? Tenenbaum says, you are protecting your psychological integrity.
Psychological integrity. That sounds profound. What does that mean in practice?
Think about what it actually feels like to be proven wrong on something fundamental, something you've built your identity around.
Oh, it's awful.
Maybe it's a religious belief, a political stance, or even just your trust in a specific person. When you see evidence that shatters that belief,
Right.
what happens?
It's not just, oh, I was incorrect. It's a pit in your stomach. Your heart
Yeah.
races. You feel unsafe. You feel disoriented.
That is cognitive dissonance. And Tenenbaum emphasizes that facing cognitive dissonance isn't just an intellectual puzzle. It generates anguish. It generates uncertainty. It generates real pain.
Actual physical feeling pain.
Yes. And remember, what is the human imperative?
To avoid pain.
To avoid pain. So when I ignore that contradictory article or I mute that person on Twitter who is arguing with me, I'm not just being stubborn.
You're not just being a baby.
You are fleeing from suffering. You are putting up a shield. Tenenbaum argues that acting to minimize one's own pain and maximize stability is the definition of reasonableness. It is the most reasonable thing a biological entity can do.
It's almost like self-defense.
Yeah.
Psychological immune system.
It is self-defense. The brain interprets the contradictory idea as an attack, almost like a physical predator. And so the bias kicks in to block the attack. The confirmation bias is your brain's shield wall.
And this leads to Tenenbaum's verdict on the demand for rationality. If we are programmed to defend ourselves from pain, then telling us to be rational and accept all data
Is asking us to lower our shields. Tenenbaum argues that asking a human to act without bias, to act like the AI, is asking them to stop protecting themselves.
So it's not just a difficult request, it's a harmful one.
It demands that they act against their own instinct for emotional conservation.
He calls it an inhumane requirement, right?
Yes, it is inhumane because it ignores our humanity. It ignores the fact that we have skin. It asks the soldier to take off their armor because the armor is heavy and inefficient.
But the armor keeps them alive.
Exactly. The bias in this view is the armor. It might be clumsy, it might be heavy, but it serves a protective function.
This is fascinating because it shifts the blame. We usually feel guilty for being biased. We try to fight it. But Tenenbaum is saying, hey, don't feel guilty. You're just trying to stay in one piece.
Exactly. And this brings us to the difference between the laboratory and the real world. This is segment 5. Tenenbaum critiques what he calls the rationalist gaze.
The rationalist gaze. It sounds like a horror movie villain.
It can be. It's the view of the scientist in the lab coat. Tenenbaum describes it as a cold look. The scientist dissects behavior from a sterile environment. They look at the subject and say, why did they do that? That wasn't logical. The expected value of that gamble was negative.
Right. But the scientist isn't the one in the situation. They aren't the one with the mortgage on the line or the reputation at risk or whose kid needs braces.
No, they're watching from behind the glass.
Yeah.
The scientist ignores that the subject is alive and afraid. Tenenbaum uses some beautiful poetic imagery here. He says the rationalist view is like condemning a subject for having eyes that see what they want to see, or a palate that prefers sweet to bitter.
Oh, I love that. Condemning the palate for preferring sweet to bitter. Like,
Yeah.
how dare you like sugar? Logically, kale is better.
Right. Your body requires vitamin K. Why are you craving glucose? You are defective. But the body wants this sugar because for millions of years, sugar meant energy and survival.
It's calories. It's life.
It is reasonable for the body to want sugar. It might not be rational for your long-term diet plan, but the impulse is biological, not a glitch.
And Tenenbaum extends this beyond the individual. It's not just about me eating a donut. He asks, where does this play out in the world? Geopolitics, financial markets, social relations?
Oh, definitely markets. We're constantly told, and this is standard economic theory, that markets are rational, the efficient market hypothesis.
Right, the idea that all information is priced in, everyone acts in their own self-interest, it's a perfect system on paper.
But have you seen the stock market? It's a roller coaster of emotion. It's fear of missing out, or FOMO, followed by absolute panic selling.
It's a mood ring, it's not a calculator.
Tenenbaum argues that these fields do not operate under the laws of ideal rationality. They operate under what he calls the gravity of reasonableness.
The gravity of reasonableness. That's a heavy phrase. What does he mean by that?
It means the heavy pull of pragmatism. Decisions in the real world, in geopolitics for example, aren't made based on abstract truth. They're made based on tangible consequences.
Okay, so a world leader isn't asking.
They're not asking, what is the logically perfect move according to game theory? They're asking, what keeps me in power? What prevents a riot? What protects my legacy? What stops my enemies from seeing me as weak?
Those are reasonable questions, even if the answers aren't rational in a mathematical sense. They're survival questions.
Precisely. If a dictator makes a move that seems insane to a Western observer, the rationalist says, he is mad, he's irrational.
Right, he's not acting in his country's best interest.
But the reasonable observer, using Tenenbaum's lens, says, he's terrified. He's managing a threat we don't see. He is avoiding a specific personal pain, the pain of losing control, of being overthrown.
So Tenenbaum asserts that the rational is a utopia, it's a fantasy land.
It is an unreachable utopia. The reasonable is what exists. It is the factual reality. It's the pragmatism of someone making decisions based on their life and well-being, not on a spreadsheet.
So we've diagnosed the problem. We've redefined the terms from rational to reasonable. Now, what do we do with this?
Segment 6, the social consequence. Because right now, our society feels very judgmental. We are constantly pointing fingers.
That is putting it mildly. Tenenbaum criticizes this modern habit we have of accusing each other of biases. It's become a weapon.
Oh, completely. You go online and you're only saying that because of confirmation bias. You have a sunk cost fallacy. That's an ad hominem.
We've become this intellectual trump card.
It's like a game of gotcha. It's a way to shut people down. It's not about finding the truth. It's about proving the other person is broken.
Tenenbaum calls it a futile exercise in moral superiority.
Ouch. But true. It feels good to be the smart one spotting the bias. It gives you a little dopamine hit. But it's empty. Because we are pretending that we should be AIs. We are judging each other for not being robots. We act as if we shouldn't have souls or skin.
Wow.
We are demanding that our neighbors strip off their armor so we can stab them with our facts.
So what is the path to true intelligence then? If it's not becoming a robot and it's not shouting biases at people, what is it?
Tenenbaum suggests we stop demanding robotic rationality and start appreciating human reasonableness.
Appreciating it. That's a big shift. Instead of hating the bias, we respect the survival mechanism behind it.
It's the shift from judgment to understanding. Tenenbaum says real intelligence is realizing that the other person isn't stupid or blind.
Even if they're totally ignoring the facts, even if they are deep down a conspiracy rabbit hole.
Even then, especially then, they're acting reasonably to avoid their own suffering.
How so?
If someone is clinging to a conspiracy theory, the rationalist says they're dumb, they can't process evidence.
Right, look at this fact check article, read it.
But the reasonable observer asks, what pain is this belief protecting them from? What stability does this provide them? Maybe they feel powerless, and this theory gives them a sense of control and secret knowledge.
Maybe the world feels chaotic and terrifying, and this one simple story makes it feel ordered and understandable.
Exactly. The conspiracy is a shield against the pain of chaos.
That is empathy as logic.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Empathy as logic. Tenenbaum believes true understanding comes when we accept that the motor of history isn't logic.
It's not.
The motor of history is the management of pain and survival.
The management of pain and survival, that explains so much of human history, actually. Wars, alliances, economic crashes, migrations. It's all people trying to avoid pain or seek safety.
And Tenenbaum concludes that this is the key to coexistence. We live in a world of imperfect but deeply reasonable beings. If we can accept that, we can stop trying to correct human nature and start understanding it.
It's a lot less frustrating, isn't it, to look at the world that way? Instead of seeing a world full of idiots, you see a world full of people just trying to cope.
It is much less exhausting than constantly being angry that people aren't acting like calculators. It allows you to see the human behind the error.
So let's bring this home. We've gone from feeling like broken software to realizing we are survival specialists.
We've moved from the tyranny of the rational, the impossible demand to be perfect, to the wisdom of the reasonable, the acceptance of our biological reality.
I want to leave the listener with a thought based on Tenenbaum's distinction. A challenge, maybe.
Go for it.
Next time you are in an argument, maybe it's online, maybe it's at the dinner table with family, and you think the other person is being irrational. You want to scream facts at them. You want to send them a link to a study that proves they are wrong.
We've all been there.
Stop.
Take a breath.
And ask yourself this question that comes right from Tenenbaum's philosophy. What pain are they trying to avoid?
Exactly. What reasonable defense mechanism is kicked in? Is their identity under attack? Are they afraid of losing status? Are they afraid of feeling stupid?
Because maybe they aren't broken. Maybe they're just protecting themselves in the most human way possible.
It changes the entire dynamic of the conversation.
And honestly, perhaps the most rational thing you can do is to stop expecting rationality from a human being.
And start looking for the reason behind the pain. That is the lesson of Mookie Tenenbaum.
And on that note, we will let you get back to your deeply reasonable lives. Thanks for taking this deep dive into the mind of Tenenbaum with us.
Take care.